Father Miller here. Welcome back to the Nerd Father. It's been quite a busy last few weeks for me. I had baptism this afternoon. I had baptism yesterday. I had three baptisms last week. So I gotta say, I'm feeling pretty excited about that. That's probably the most baptisms I've had. Oh, it's been a long time since I've had that many baptisms in one stretch of time. So, okay, whoops, looks like I'm back. So I don't know why, but my screen kind of freezes up every now and then. I don't really know why that is, if it's a tech issue or whatever it is. Anyway, as you probably know, Archbishop, I can't really remember how to pronounce his name. The Archbishop of San Francisco dropped a pretty big bombshell, I guess you could say. A nice 17-page letter called In the Womb, addressed to Catholic politicians who support abortion. And as we know, there are some pretty powerful Catholics that are in political office that hold views that are definitely not what the church would say. So I gotta say hi to a few people in the chat first. Sonardo Pupas, good to see ya, and Justin Army 5, good to see you too. So yeah, like I said, idea was when we started this about a year ago, it was going to be kind of like my Sunday night therapy because the lockdown, not seeing anybody. Figured do kind of like a Friday Night Tights, but for priests. But over the last few months, it's kind of hard to been able to do that because most of the brothers that I streamed with, and I refer to them as brother priests, are busy, basically back to work, full time busy. My day ended at 2 this afternoon when I had the second baptism. And I was going to go golf, but I figured tomorrow's my day off, so I'm going to do that. So, anyway, fun article. As you know, last week was the Oscars. I did not watch them. I had no desire to watch them. I probably was more interested in the Razzies than the Oscars. But anyway, they pretty much had a big bomb. They laid a huge egg. And, oh, Truck Dog, good to see ya. My kitty is sitting in the window right now. Thankfully, she doesn't know that I'm going live. My cat will probably walk across the screen before long, and you'll see Cat Shark, as I referred to her tail. So anyway, let's see. 9.85 million people turned into the Oscars, which is more than a 58% drop from last year's all-time low of 23.6 million. That's pretty bad. And the thing is, even with the movies that were nominated, I mean, I know that there was a whole lot that didn't come out last year, but the things that they nominated were not interesting. I had no desire to see them. Anyway, I was going to show. Let's get that window up. I had to reboot the computer before I started tonight because I was having some technical issues. So let's look at the Oscar winners. Okay, so Best Picture, Nomadland. Never seen it, never heard of it, not until recently. The Father, that's the one with Anthony Hopkins who defeated, or was a surprise winner. Everybody thought Chadwick Boseman was going to win. But that one I've heard of. I just didn't really have the desire to see it. Judas and the Black Messiah, again, not really interested. Mank, I have no clue what that's about. Minari, again, don't know what that is. Promising Young Woman, again, don't know anything about it. Sound of Metal, don't know anything about it. Trial of the Chicago 7, I'm guessing that's the trial during the 68 riots in Chicago during the Democrat convention. I could be wrong. But, again, never saw it. I don't have Netflix. I got rid of it about a year ago. Which is kind of sad because I had Netflix when I was in the seminary, and this would have been back in 2005 or 2006. So up until about 2 years ago, I had pretty much subscribed to Netflix for almost 12, 13 years, and now not really that interested in it. Anyway, Best Actress. Maria I'm not going to try that. But she was in Borat's movie. I tried watching a few minutes of it. Didn't care for it. And it was basically an Orange Man bad movie. So, I mean, really don't care to see it. Glenn Close. I know who that is, but I don't know her movie. Hillbilly Elegy. Whatever. Olivia Colman. I remember her from The Crown. I guess she was in The Father. Amanda Seyfried, who I first discovered in Les Mis, the movie version, but I don't know this movie. And Minari, I'm going to just say that. Again, I don't even know the point of it, but okay, Best Supporting Actor. Huh. Okay, it looks like Borat was nominated for the Trial of the Chicago 7. I did not expect that. Daniel for Judas and the Black Messiah. Looks like he wins. Here comes Cat Shark. Cat Shark just heard the cat feeder feeding go off, so she's going to get some food. Leslie Odom for One Night in Miami. I did have some interest in seeing it, but it's been out for about 2 months on Amazon Prime, and I just haven't sat down to watch it yet. Paul Raci, The Sound of Metal. Again, don't know anything about it. And Lakeith Stanfield for Judas and the Black Messiah. I'm going to skip the international feature film because I would say five will get you 10. I know nothing of them, which is pretty bad. I mean, I like independent films. I like foreign films. Anyway, gonna say, let's see, a documentary. We're not even gonna go there. Documentary feature. We're gonna skip that. Original song. Gonna skip that. Don't know any of them. Animated feature film. Now, I did want to see Soul. That looked interesting. I did have Disney Plus up until the whole Gina thing went down. Shaun the Sheep movie, Farmageddon, that might look interesting. If it's going to be kind of like a Shaun of the Dead, but with sheep, that could be really good. I was listening to a little bit about that last night on Odin's movie blog, or OMB Reviews, because I guess they were in a zombie mood and talking about all sorts of zombie movies. I mentioned that I really like Shaun of the Dead, which has Nick Frost and Simon Pegg. They did a trio of movies, kind of like a buddy trio. Adapted screenplay. Well, again, Borat, I have no desire. The Father, I might someday. Nomadland, don't really care to. It sounds too depressing from what I've heard of it, too. One Night in Miami, I'm kind of interested. Like I said, I'm interested in it. White Tiger, don't know anything about it. Okay. Original screenplay. Judas and the Black Messiah. Again, none of these movies I've seen, wanted to see. Now, this was the big controversy. Actor in a leading role. Everybody thought Chadwick Boseman was going to win the Oscar because he died. And will say that I saw him in 42, I think it was, where he was playing Jackie Robinson. I thought he was really good in that movie. I enjoyed that movie. Liked him in Black Panther, his character. But Anthony Hopkins is also a really, really good actor. I mean, I think this is his second win. I know he won for Silence of the Lambs. But everybody's saying that Boseman should have won it. And it's not really looking at who gave a better performance, but rather that Boseman died tragically from cancer. So we should honor him rather than give it for the best picture of the year or the best actor of the year. Okay, actress in the leading role. Again, never saw any of these. Don't care. Director. Never saw them. Don't care. Production design. Now this one I have seen. Tenet. I like Tenet. I had to watch it with the subtitles on the first time. But anyway. Cinema. Again, don't care. Costume design. And I always say those look like really good costumes. So good for them. Achievement in sound. Whatever. Animated short film. Whatever. Now, this I was reading about today. Live short action film, Two Distant Strangers, basically kind of like a Groundhog's Day from a black man's viewpoint of trying to escape from the police. But this was done by Now This and some other company who Now This aired, promoted a short film that this Korean lady made a number of years ago with a similar concept. And this one now is on Netflix, and this just won the Best Oscar for live action short film, and rightly so. There's calls of plagiarism, but it's Hollywood, so really are we surprised? Original score, Soul. Visual effects, again, love Tenet. I mean, it's one of those that's going to make you think. I really enjoyed it. Film editing, we're going to skip that. Skip. And that's about it for that. So, yeah, don't really care. So, looks like we got some more people in the chat. Let's see. Kermit Youngblood, good to see ya. Chris P, good to see ya too. Yeah, that's kind of what we're going to get into next. Archbishop of San Francisco, who is Nancy Pelosi's bishop, issued a pretty good document, basically saying that if you're a Catholic, you really can't support abortion. You have to work to really end it. Let's see. We'll come to that. Tweaky Kid. Yeah, that's, like I said, that's the way I had to watch the first time with subtitles, because I waited till I was able to get it on 4K, and I enjoyed it. I mean, like I said, I've watched it twice already. I might give it a third. It's going to be a while before I do it. But I got the steel box, so I was pretty happy with that. Okay, so I'm going to bring up the article from San Francisco. Let me bring this up. So as you're watching, I hope everybody's doing good. Like 3 subs away from 700. So this week I was at the unholy number of the 666, and I kind of made an appeal if people could please subscribe because I wanted to get over that unholy number. And I think I gained 30 subs within a short period of time. So I was pretty happy with that. The only thing is I gotta get the watch time up. So I gotta try to do some more content. Anyway, this is from the Archdiocese of San Francisco. The cat is sitting on the document, so you're gonna hear a little meow. Nope, didn't hear it. But basically, this is the link is in the womb, and I will put that in the chat. Now, it's interesting. When I opened it up for the first time, my antivirus said that there was like suspicious content or something that, you know, be careful of this site. There's nothing wrong with it. It's the Archdiocese of San Francisco. It's redirecting you to the link. Anyway, let's take a quick look at this. I'm probably not going to read the whole document, mostly because, again, it is 17 pages. But it's an easy read. It's not really long. I mean, you look at it, there's pictures. So, it's not a picture book. Let's take a... Oh. Okay, let's see. It's opened a new window. Let's see if we can do this without having to... Oh. Okay, let's see. But I will look at this. So, I had this discussion recently with a friend of mine who was brought up Catholic and now has kind of left the church and has become a supporter of abortion. And I made a comment or something about defending life in the womb. And it's like, well, she's sarcastically was saying, well, Jesus never talked about the poor or the sick. It's always about abortion. And it's like, well, you know, if you look at the early writings of the church, and this isn't just the scripture, the early writings of the church basically defend life in the womb. The Didache, which is the teachings of the 12 apostles, written about 80 AD. This would have been written maybe about 20 years before St. John wrote his gospel. In chapter 2, and this document quotes it, "You shall not murder a child by abortion, nor kill that which is born." That's chapter 2 of the Didache. And got a phone call. Let's hold on. Let's see what this is.
Calls from
Hold on. We're going to go on mute for a bit. I got a phone call. Okay, so that was my neighbor. It turns out we are in a severe thunderstorm warning. I have an umbrella out by my deck chair and I got my car outside, so I'm going to step away for a few minutes and bring those both back in. So I will be right back. That's okay. Okay, I'm back. So it's getting dark outside. I'll try to show the camera real quick. You see the cat? So, had to run in. Out of breath, but that's fine. Um, let's see. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, good question. Um, Short answer, no. This kind of gets into the area that the Archbishop talks about. Um, Basically, what we believe is at the moment of conception, a new life is created. That's neither the mother nor the father. It has unique DNA. It has an immortal soul that's made in the image of God. And regardless of how it came into existence, it's supposed to have protection for life. Um, Again, I know that's not really. You have to be very careful. Again, my computer froze up for a second. Um, but we would say that abortion, when you look at a moral action, you have to look at what is being done, why is it being done, and what are the circumstances that are foreseen. And if any one of those is evil, you cannot do the action. Well, abortion is the intentional killing of an unborn baby, and you can never do basically it's an intrinsic evil. The action itself always is wrong. And yeah, I just saw that my screen froze for a second. So I'm trying to remember. There was, there's one of the singers from the 50s, a famous singer, I think. I don't really care for the song, but Santa Baby, I think it is. Uh, she was the product of rape, and hopefully YouTube doesn't strike me because of that. But let's see. Proverbs 6:17. It is written that the Lord hates the hands that shed innocent blood. Yeah, I mean, let's bring up the document again. Now that I'm back. Let's see. I'm going to try to open this in a different window. Hold on. Okay, there we go. So this is the document from the Archbishop. I'm going to try to go through parts that I highlighted. He basically begins by stating that 2023 will be the 50th anniversary of Roe v. Wade. I was born in 74, so I am thankful that my parents chose life. But 50 years, 60 million deaths, many more millions scarred lives later. And okay, so let's go through this. I'm going to try to zoom in. It's interesting. So Cordiloni, and he released this yesterday on the memorial of St. Joseph the Worker. So the big St. Joseph feast day is March 19th, the Solemnity of St. Joseph. Yesterday is May Day, May 1st, the memorial of St. Joseph the Worker. So this famous quote from Jeremiah, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I dedicated you. A prophet to the nations, I appointed you." And as it says, it speaks profoundly and movingly to the great love and purpose for which God brings each one of us into the world from the first moment of our existence. And we do live in a throwaway culture, as Pope Francis mentions. But this gets into and I like this quote from him. "When our culture encourages the violation of life at its youngest and most vulnerable condition, other ethical norms cannot stand for long." So, abortion is the axe laid to the roots of the tree of human rights. When our culture encourages the violation of life at its youngest. Okay, we just read that. I would like to address 4 topics. So this is basically broken up into 4 sections. For Catholics to understand, and people, Catholics and people of all goodwill to understand how evil abortion is. So usually the argument is that we're forcing our views on people, that we're forcing our beliefs on people, but this is not so. Because, again, we look at the action being done, and the intentional killing of life in the womb is always wrong. Now, going back to the question earlier, in medical ethics, there is such a thing called the principle of double effect, and I think we talked about that with Father Pat last week. I think it was last week. So the example would be an ectopic pregnancy where the fertilized egg gets stuck in the tube before it can implant in the womb. And if under the principle of double effect, you are treating the womb. You're treating the condition of the tube. You're not intentionally killing the child, but it's indirectly leading to the death of the child. So again, what is it you're doing? Well, you're working on the tubes. Why are you doing it? Well, because if nothing happens, the baby will grow and the tubes will explode and the mother will bleed to death. So that's the reasoning why you're doing it is not wrong. What you're doing is removing the tube, which is not direct abortion. It's an indirect abortion. So there's a big difference between direct and indirect. And I'm just trying to see if we got anything up here. No. No, it wouldn't be mercy. Everybody has the right to life. I have a cousin that was born with Down syndrome, severe Down syndrome, lived in group home all her life. So, let's see. Anyway. And I know friends of mine from Virginia adopted a child that is special needs that's going to really need support all her life. So, but again, regardless how they've come into the world, what their health condition is, we believe that, again, they're made in the image of God, and that they have an immortal soul that will live for all eternity. So we believe that the most vulnerable, basically the ones that cannot protect themselves, should be protected. So again, going back to this, there's 4 areas that he's addressing, basically trying to help people to know and understand how gravely evil abortion is, how to avoid sinful cooperation in this evil, how these principles apply to the question of Catholics and the reception of Holy Communion. Because let's be honest, Nancy Pelosi, who received Planned Parenthood's highest award, the Margaret Sanger Award, says she's an ardent and practicing Catholic. Well, as I used to tell my students, it's like, okay, this goes back into, are we trying to force our faith on people? Well, you're just trying to force your Catholic faith on people. Okay, fine. if you're personally opposed to abortion and don't want to force your faith on people, then you, as a Catholic, should not accept and give a speech at Margaret Sanger's or the Planned Parenthood Award. That's scandalous. Or President Biden, who oversaw a same-sex wedding. Again, we believe marriage is meant for a man and a woman. The whole sexual act is meant for the unity of the spouses and the possibility of life being created. And you can't separate one good from the other. So Biden should have not performed that wedding. And then, let's see. And then the final one, the big one that is being addressed right now is the special responsibility Catholics prominent in public life have with regard to the common good. So I'm going to open this up on a different window as I want to make sure I'm not missing comments as I'm going through this document. I think this is kind of how Gary is doing it on his live streams. And this is the thing here too. Yeah. Okay. So like I can see Sonata Pupus's comment, what great role model Margaret Sanger was. Yeah. Here we go. So I'll begin with the principle of law and science because abortion is not a Christian or a Catholic issue. The dignity of human person is a value that is or should be affirmed by us all. So this goes into the first section, basically law and science, and he has this good discussion about the preamble of the Constitution or Declaration. The Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are endowed by the Creator with unalienable rights to make syllables. I don't use that word very often. Among that, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So, thus, one's right to pursue let me see, there we go. Okay, thus one's right to the pursuit of happiness is limited when it deprives another of the right of liberty or life, or one's liberty is limited when it deprives another of the right to life. So, who possesses the right to life? The natural law teaches and the Declaration proclaims that every human being possesses the dignity that forms the foundation of these. Yeah, Catholics of convenience. So my parish is in a very dark red, very, very dark red part of the state. So I really don't have to be careful when I say some stuff because I don't think we had one Biden voter in our parish. Okay, so, but here we go. Development of an embryo begins at stage 1 when a sperm fertilizes an octet. Again, a word I don't use. And together they form a zygote. Because the embryo is unique in developing human organism, it follows that she or he possesses an inherent right to life from the moment of conception. Thus, the violent invasion of the act of abortion ends human life. Likewise, those contraceptives which prevents the implantation of the embryo are in fact abortifacients that kill an innocent growing human beings. So like the Plan B bill or the emergency contraception, it doesn't prevent the conception from occurring. It prevents it from implanting in the womb. It just basically allows it to flow. Yeah, I just saw the comment. When an animal gets pregnant, we always consider it a baby. Why not with people? Yeah. But there was I'm not even going to read this. There was he quotes testimony from a doctor who performed abortions before renouncing the practice, and it goes into graphic detail of how the abortion is done. Okay, so we are called to oppose abortion because we acknowledge the human being's right to life, the unique human identity of each living developing embryo from the moment of conception, and the horrendous violence of the procedure itself. In addition to these human motivations, we as Catholics are prompted by religious motivations as well. And this is key here. This does not mean that we seek to impose our religious beliefs on others, but it does mean that our religious understanding of the human person as created in the image and likeness of God deepens our resolve to join hands with others, regardless of religious convictions or lack of them, to teach, serve, heal, and protect the human community, especially those most in need. And I'll be honest, really, until I visited the South, I had never really met pro-life non-Catholics. Usually it's always a Catholic thing that we're pro-life. And as I mentioned, I think last week, Sister Simone Campbell, the nuns on the bus, the one that spoke at the DNC convention last week, just retired from her advocacy group. She is promoting Catholic social justice, but the one part of Catholic social justice she's not promoting is the right to life. Basically, nothing about pro-life issues and about abortion. So, thankfully, her order is dying because there's no vocations. Okay. So this gets into the teachings of the church that I mentioned. So between 70 AD and 130, these two documents are considered by scholars to be among the oldest surviving extra-biblical Christian texts. So as Catholics, we believe we're guided by sacred scripture and sacred tradition. And good to see you, Robbie Suits. I just saw that you popped on. So, you know, the scriptures as we have it weren't finalized until the 4th century. So as Catholics, we say that, you know, a sacred tradition, an oral teaching that was going on, because if you look at like 1 Corinthians, do not neglect, I hand on to you what was handed on to me. Namely, on the night that he died, Jesus took bread. Well, that's 1 Corinthians, which is written about 51-52 AD, which is written before any of the Gospels. So it's showing that there's an oral teaching being handed on. And of course, this is before, you know, everybody thought Christ was going to come back again soon. And anyway, when the apostles started being martyred, they decided they better start writing down what Christ said. Okay, so I might have missed this part. Let's see. Oh, no, I didn't. Okay, we're going to skip that anyway. Abortion advocates argue that they are empowering women, but in fact, the widespread practice of contraception and abortion has created a tremendous burden for pregnant women. So, and this is the thing that they, you know, it's always stressed as it's the woman's choice. Well, abortion is never solely the mother's act. Others, to a greater or lesser degree, share culpability whenever this evil is perpetuated. This gets into what we call in Catholic moral teaching, the cooperation with evil. And this kind of gets to be a little complicated. It's not really complicated, but it kind of is. It's not meant to be like a cop-out either. So it talks about the major distinction between formal and material cooperation. And the key to formal cooperation is that I will the evil being done by another, and my cooperation is given to those that bring it about. So again, as he says here, this applies clearly to those who are willingly kill or assist in killing the child, but also to those who pressure or encourage the mother to have the abortion, or pay for it, or provide financial assistance to organizations to provide abortion. So like giving to Planned Parenthood. Or support candidates or legislation to make abortion more readily available. And as he says here, formal cooperation in evil is never morally justified. So you can never do that. But this I really think is good here. For decades, Western culture has been in denial about the harsh reality of abortion. This topic is so swathed in sophisticaries, can't say it, by its advocates, and discussion about it is forbidden in many venues. It is my conviction that this conspiracy of disinformation and silence is fueled by fear of what it would mean to recognize the reality with which we are dealing. So, and the thing that he says, and it needs to be stressed, God is able to forgive anything. I mean, let's see, I just noticed a few more comments. Rose, it's good to see you. Yeah. So many people want to have children and can't. And, you know, the thing is, I honestly believe that good comes out of evil. I mean, even if we don't see it in our lifetime, we ultimately have to trust that God is able to bring about a good. And I'm not saying it to justify the act that resulted in the life being created, but, you know, I remember there's a cartoon of a guy complaining to God. It's like, why haven't you cured cancer or AIDS or whatever these other diseases? And God responded, I did, but you aborted them. I mean, again, 60 million people. You wonder what type of discoveries or great minds we lost to this thing. Okay, so, but as he says, you know, I beg my fellow Catholics who are guilty of this grave offense to turn to God in the sacrament of reconciliation, receive his forgiveness, and do penance. And really, that's the thing. I mean, God is able to forgive anything that we've done, no matter how bad we screwed up. If only we seek his forgiveness on that. Yeah, I noticed my camera's out of focus. I don't know why it does that. Let's see. Wow, it is really out of focus. See how white my palm is. Let's try a few things. There we go. Okay, so we're going to go back to the document. I just saw lightning. Okay, so material cooperation. So formal cooperation in evil, material cooperation. So this would be what a lot of us would fall into, especially when we pay taxes. Thinking of the Hyde Amendment. Material cooperation means that I do not agree with or intend the object of the act, but I contribute to it. I contribute to the act in some way. Material cooperation is further distinguished as immediate, basically cooperation in the act itself, or immediate, cooperation involving attendant circumstances of the act. And again, this, like I said, this kind of gets to be a little complicated. But he says here, like in the case of an abortion, for an example, a person does not want the woman to have the abortion, but still assists in the procedure. This is immediate material cooperation. If the person does not participate in the act itself, but helps with the preparation or follow-up, the cooperation is immediate. Immediate material cooperation in a grave evil can never be morally justified. The person is guilty of participating in the evil act, even if they believe the action is wrong. So again, the way I would say is, like I said, it's been probably 13 years since I've taken medical ethics, and some of this, I taught sacraments and church history for 9 years. So nice thing is when you're teaching in high school, you get to focus on a topic. You kind of get to be really, really good at it. Do you think we could take the Cook vaccines? I don't know anything about the Cook vaccines. I'll just let you know, I had the Moderna. I had 2 shots of the Moderna. I feel great. The one thing that I'm kind of, and I know I talked about it last week, is the 2 things that kind of drive me nuts are the mask Yahtzees, put on the mask, put it on, put it on, put it on, and the anti-vaxxers, so the extremists on both sides. I know that our bishop issued a statement that even though the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is morally corrupted, this would get into the area of really remote media cooperation, which, again, it's not that we're intending to take something that was the result of an abortion that happened years ago. It's just the consequences of it. And again, I would just, the bishop, okay, the Koof. Yeah, I know Koof. Yeah. Like I said, I took the vaccine. I know that a lot of the priests in our diocese have taken it. And I know that Bishop Strickland, I believe, is from Tyler. Oh, yes, Robbie, I saw that you were from the Latin Mass video. Yeah, I have to say, I think the only good Jesuit is a dead Jesuit. But I have to be careful about that because Pope Francis is a Jesuit. But Father Reese, I do not have the time of day for. And along with that, I don't have the time of day for Father Martin. I do like the Latin Mass, and as I probably said in the video, I would love to learn it, but I would really, I love knowing what I'm praying. I'm not fluent in Latin. I've said the Our Father and the Hail Mary so many times over the years that I have a better understanding of it. And I mean, we did learn those words, and I understand some of the words I'm saying when we sing the Gloria in Latin, and as I tell the people when the new translation came out, it's a more faithful translation of the Latin. Adoramus te, benedicimus te, glorificamus te. I got those out of order, I'm sure. But in the English translation, we say, we praise you, we adore you, we glorify you, and I can't think because I hadn't started it. But, the idea, we praise you, we glorify you, benedicimus te, glorificamus te, adoramus te. So it's a faithful translation of the Latin. I really would love to see, there are good Jesuits. Father Paquin from EWTN is a good example. And Father Fezio from Ignatius Press is a good Jesuit too. It just seems that there's more bad than good. But anyway, and I know a Jesuit that was at Creighton in Omaha. But I would love to see a vernacular translation of the Latin, the Old Rite. I really would love to see that. Now, I've celebrated Mass ad Orientem a number of times. Our bishop encouraged it a few years ago during Advent to celebrate it ad Orientem, and the thing we had to keep stressing ahead of time is this is not a turn back to pre-Vatican II. The implementation of the liturgical change was done really, really bad. I was alive during that. I don't remember it because I'm only 46. But the idea that it's not the priest turning his back to the people. There's a whole reason for our liturgical positions. So, but glad you liked the video. I'm going to try to do some more of that. But yeah, I really had to hold my tongue because reading some of that stuff from Father Reese, I wanted to drop some profanities, which I can't do. I don't want to. Anyway, but yeah, so, okay, immediate cooperation could be of different kinds depending on whether it's closer to the act itself, proximate, or removed from it, remote. So again, this is kind of where it kind of gets to be confusing because I have to look at my chart again. So you got evil, then you got it broken into formal, which can never be done, and material. Material is broken down into immediate versus mediate. Then mediate is broken into proximate versus remote. Complicated. Let's see. My fiance's parish offers no ad Orientem and the Latin Mass too. Yeah, I will say that I've had many interactions with the Fraternity of St. Peter, the Society of St. Peter, the FSSPs. They're good people. So, okay, proximate, mediate cooperation would be like processing the form. So a person's working at the hospital, a woman's coming to get an abortion, the person's against abortion, but she has to process the person getting into it, getting ready to have the procedure done. So there's a big difference between that and let's see, what is the other one? Let's see. To a hospital that, among many other things, perform abortions would be remote mediate cooperation. Is such cooperation permitted, and if so, when? Okay, so as he says, we all have the moral duty to avoid cooperation. And just saw a big lightning strike. I would bring up the radar, but I don't want to dox myself. But, I really don't care. I'll just say I'm in the Midwest. So, such is the complexity of life and the interconnectedness of human society that we cannot avoid some association with evil. Again, our tax dollars. So, tax dollars go to Washington. They do a lot of stuff that goes against our faith with it. And look at all the social justice issues, transgender stuff that we have to deal with. So, prudential judgments must be made in circumstances may suggest that I cooperate to material in an immediate material way, either to gain some good or to prevent the loss of some good. Such cooperation must involve actions that are either good in themselves or morally neutral, and they must be proportionate to the gravity of the evil and the degree of my involvement in it. And again, this is one that I love to go back and study, to represent. I probably will make a video on this one of these days because, again, I really haven't had to do much teaching on material cooperation and evil. And again, this goes back to, can one in good conscience vote for Biden? As I told people, okay, if you've been following me for a while, it's no surprise I voted for Trump. I mean, he wasn't my first choice, but I looked at it as the two options. I'm not voting for a saint. There's a lot that he did and said that I didn't exactly care for, but you look at all the craziness that's going on in the last few months, I voted against that. That's the way I look at it. So, anyway. Okay, so as the first, the greater the gravity of the wrongdoing, the more serious must be the reason for the material cooperation to be listed or permissible. As to the second, the greater gravity of the wrongdoing, the more remote must be the cooperation, be if it is to be morally permissible. I'm kind of getting towards the end of this, I think, just because, again, I'm kind of getting, it's been a long day, kind of getting tired. Trying to see where I am with this. We'll just go to his summarization. So, to summarize, it's never morally permissible to cooperate in a formal way in an evil act. It is never morally permissible to cooperate in an immediate material way in the act itself. There could be circumstances where it's permitted to cooperate in an immediate material way in an evil act, and this is determined by the seriousness of the evil and one's proximity or distance from it. Again, people will say we're kind of overdoing it, we're maybe whatever, but anyway. Oh, okay. Her parishes offers Novus Ordo Mass ad Orientem. Yeah, I've done that many times. I haven't done it in my current parish, mostly because I haven't had a chance to catechize, and I know that one of my parishes, the altar is too close to the step where I could not safely do ad Orientem, and the altar is nailed to the ground, so I can't move the altar, reposition it. So, but I'm just going to conclude with this part. However, given the reality that abortion violates the most fundamental principle, the right to life itself, the teaching of our faith is clear. Those who kill or assist in killing the child, even if personally opposed to abortion, those who pressure or encourage the mother to have an abortion, who pay for it, who provide financial assistance to organizations to provide abortions, or who support candidates or legislation for the purposes of making abortion a more readily available choice, are all cooperating with a very serious evil. Formal cooperation and immediate material cooperation in evil is never morally justified. So, I'm going to just check something on here. And really, so this gets into the third section. I'm going to just go to the question of receiving the reception of the Holy Eucharist. It quotes from 1 Corinthians, this thing that whoever eats the bread or drinks the cup of the Lord unworthily will have to answer for the body and blood of the Lord. A person should examine himself and so eat the bread and drink the cup. For anybody who eats and drinks without discerning the body eats and drinks judgment on himself. It's a great scandal when very, very vocal abortion rights supporter who says that they're Catholic goes and brags about how Catholic they are and makes a point to be seen at Mass. I really pray for Biden. I don't think he's a bad man. I think he's surrounded by people that are not good. I think he's very wrong in his ways. The thing, as we say, is to whom much is given, much will be demanded. That old Superman quote. It's also scriptural. He's going to have to give an accounting of how he has acted as president, just as Obama and Trump and Bush will have to give an accounting when they go before the judgment seat of God. But let me see. I'm going to kind of skip part of that. Okay, we're going to go to the fourth part, just because I kind of want to wrap up. Oh, Miss Martin's here. Good to see you, Miss Martin Muses. So, Catholics in public life. Okay, so basically, we as pastors have a responsibility to both them, basically Catholics in politics, and to the rest of our people. Our responsibility to them is to call them to conversion and to warn them that if they do not amend their lives, they must answer before the tribunal of God for the innocent blood that has been shed. That's pretty strong. That's truth. Our responsibility to the rest of the Catholic community is to assure them that the Church of Jesus Christ does take seriously her mission to care for the least of these, as our Lord has commanded us, and to correct Catholics who erroneously and sometimes stubbornly promote abortion. This correction takes several forms and rightly begins with a private conversation between the erring Catholic and his parish priest or bishop. So I'm hoping, I'm not going to have much hope, but I'm hoping Cardinal Gregory in D.C. will have a talk with Biden. Not holding my breath. Anyway. The experience of some of us in Catholic or church leadership over the years demonstrate the sad truth that often such interventions can be fruitless. Yeah. It can happen that the conversations tend to go nowhere, thus leaving it easy for the individual to continue participating fully in the life of the church. Such a situation is a cause of scandal to many of the faithful, and that is basically what it is. It is a scandal. Thankfully, so my first assignment was the parish of our representative in Congress, and he's a very strong pro-life Catholic. So I always got along with him. I still keep in touch with him, even though I'm not in his district anymore. Because we're dealing with public figures and public examples of cooperation and moral evil, this correction can also take the public form of exclusion from the reception of Holy Communion. So there are priests that have refused Biden communion. I think there was one in South Carolina a year or two ago when he was running, refused to give communion to Biden. And this is the other thing too. When other avenues are exhausted, the only recourse a pastor has left is the public medicine of temporary exclusion from the Lord's table. And this is a good explanation here. This is bitter medicine. But the gravity of the evil of abortion can sometimes warrant it. So, and then there's one other thing too. Basically, he's concluding with basically going to my fellow Catholics. Yeah, if I remember correctly, it was like 2005, 2006 that the Vatican sent bishops to all the seminaries to investigate in light of the scandals that was going on. I'm pretty sure that it was Cardinal Gregory, who was the Archbishop of Atlanta then, that did my interview. But anyway. But again, it's basically, it's a pleading to hear the conversion call of God. And as it says, I call heaven and earth today to witness against you. I have set before you life and death, the blessing and the curse. Choose life that you and your descendants may live by loving the Lord your God, obeying his voice, and holding fast to him. I will say here, this is a good appeal. If you find you are unwilling or unable to abandon your advocacy for abortion, you should not come forward to receive Holy Communion. To publicly affirm the Catholic faith while at the same time publicly rejecting one of its most fundamental teachings is simply dishonest. Heeding this perennial call to conversion is the only way to live the Catholic faith with integrity. So, then there's a concluding statement, and it even does address the medicine of excommunication. Now, I will say that I know that my former bishop, before he retired, basically told people that if you're in call to action, if you are a member of Planned Parenthood, you got 30 days to get out or you're excommunicated. And the reason is because as a Catholic, you cannot be a practicing Catholic and supporting Planned Parenthood or being part of call to action. And for those that don't know what call to action is, it's basically a dissident group that's promoting women's ordination. And I think I've done a video on why that can never be done. Anyway. But there is a good thing that he addresses to Catholics in public life who advocate life. Thank you, of course. To those who procure abortion or are involved in any way in the abortion industry, Look at the evil you are perpetuating square in the face, admit it, accept it for what it is, and turn away from it. Many of your former colleagues have done this and are finding peace and are repairing their lives by revealing the horrors of the abortion industry from the inside out. And I love this statement here. To Catholics in public life who practice abortion and advocate for it, the killing must stop. Please, 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 the killing must stop. God has entrusted you with a prestigious position in society. You have the power to affect societal practices and attitudes. Always remember that you will one day have to render an account to God for your stewardship of this trust. You are in a position to do something concrete and decisive to stop the killing. Please stop the killing. And please stop pretending that advocating for or practicing a grave moral evil, one that snuffs out an innocent human life, one that denies a fundamental human right, is somehow compatible with the Catholic faith. It is not. Please return home to the fullness of your Catholic faith. We await you with open arms to welcome you back. And I would say that's pretty blunt. But then it just ends with the appeal again, for those that have had an abortion and those who have been affected by it, to know that God does love you. God is ready to forgive you. God wants to heal you. Just to turn to our Lord and to ask for that forgiveness. And the church provides many healing ministries for those who have gone through an abortion. And then finally, basically to people of all goodwill, working together to build a culture of life, starting at the very beginning. Let's work for a society in which every human being or every new being is received as a precious gift from God and given a welcome to the human community. And the thing that a lot of pro-choicers will say, oh, did I have the screen down? Oh, well. Anyway, one of the things that the pro-choicers will say is like, yeah, you focus on the baby before it's born. What about afterwards? And you know what? We need to focus on them after they're born. If the family can't afford it, we got to help them. Because being pro-life is not just about being anti-abortion. It's supporting life from the beginning to the end, from the womb to the tomb. It's one of the reasons I'm against death penalty. Because as I've told my people, we had it on the ballot a few years ago, whether we should have the death penalty. It's like, I believe in a God that's ready to forgive anything, even abortion. I remember once asking church history, I did an alternative history question. I'll have to kind of tweak it on here because YouTube doesn't like the mention of the mustache man from Germany in 1939 that caused the world to be in a lot of turmoil. Let's see if we can get that focus back in. So I basically asked in an alternative universe where we still won World War II, but who didn't commit suicide and was captured. And as he's sitting on death row waiting his execution, he comes to accept Christ. You see, he was never baptized, and he comes to accept Christ. Well, knowing what you know about the effects of baptism, namely that it forgives not only all original sin, but all sin that one has done up until the moment of baptism, should you know who get to go to heaven? Oh... I got one kid that said no, because what he did was really, really, really bad. But, the mercy of God is so great that even if who would have repented, God could forgive. Now, that doesn't mean he probably wouldn't burn in purgatory till the end of time, because I think he would. But anyway, so with that, coming up on the hour, I'm going to wrap up, because I like watching storms. It's getting dark out here. With that, I thank you for joining me. If you're new to here, please hit the subscribe button. I'm getting close to 700 subs. I need a lot more watch time. But as I told a priest recently, I'm doing this for fun now. It'd be fun if I could ever reach monetization, but that's not why I'm doing this channel. The pandemic, the thing that shall not be named, did help push me along doing this a little bit more. But anyway, so until next time, I'll try to go ahead and stream again next week. I'm just looking for the thing. And until next week, God bless.